Sridhar. Yeah, there you go.
Do we see? Oh, I see Sridhar now. Sridhar, we miss you over here. I don't know if you can hear me. We miss you.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My the AI summit, our prime minister's dinner ended only about 5 hours ago. So there's physically no way I could make it there. That's the so I'm very sorry. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. So there's a those of you who may not know, there's a big India AI Impact Summit going on in New Delhi, and I had my presentation yesterday, and I had a dinner with our honorable Prime Minister hosted a dinner for many heads of state, and I was one of the people invited to attend. So that is why that only ended about 4 or 5 hours ago. So it's 3 a.m. here, so in New Delhi. So I apologize for not being able to make it. This was I was all set to make it, but I could not this time. And in fact, I'll start with that whole AI Impact Summit itself. It is a huge affair. And, it's the whole of Delhi. It looks like all of Delhi has been taken over for this, and maybe over 100,000, maybe 200,000 attendees. A lot of enthusiastic crowd. And that's the interesting part about AI. India is very optimistic about it. Okay, there's a lot of rapid acceptance. The global, if you see, day before yesterday, I was at a small gathering where we had a private Q&A session with Anthropic CEO Dario Monday. In fact, he and I actually shared something in common. We went to Princeton. He had a PhD from Princeton too, in physics. So, and I asked him a lot of questions about the whole AI for software development, because Cloud Code is the hottest platform. And compared to last year, I'm going to tell you, first thing I want to report is this Claude has become really good now. I have personally seen it in the last month or so. I'll give you a concrete example. There's something very hard. In fact, I could not believe it that it was able to do this. We presented a specification for a small DSL, a domain-specific language. And that's only about 200 lines of markdown. And we gave it about a 100-line example coded in that DSL, asked it to help develop a compiler for it. And it took about 2 or 3 days of prompting, and 2 of my engineers got it done. And they had built that kind of compiler before, so they know exactly what it was doing. And they said it would have taken us at least 3 months to do this. And 2 days they had a working prototype. And it actually compiles code, all of that. And in fact, they have since spent 3 or 4 more days, and they've improved it further. This is capability that, a year ago when I got on Zoho Day, it was definitely not there. And I would not have believed it that this year will be there. So this is where I'm going to talk about, this is really a new development, okay, on this front. And a lot of people will tell you it's all hype, this and that, but I will tell you that, this is real, and the code is getting, actually, we have also in another group, the Zoho Backstage product. We have actually deployed some code developed using AI. Again, what a feature that would have taken at least 2 or 3 months, and it took maybe a couple of weeks. So the productivity impact is real, and the code is deployed now, so in production, after a lot of reviews, all of that. So about a couple of weeks. And what is interesting is the people who did this said we would have used more junior programmers to assist us, and we were able to do it ourselves. That is another thing in this. So that's the AI, what we are seeing right now. And pretty much most of this we are doing with Claude, the latest Opus 4.5 and now 4.6 models. But since then, the open source models also have landed. I'm sure all of them, whether Gemini or when ChatGPT has Codex now and or new model, and I think they will all have, they each will have their own personalities, but they must have some similar capabilities. And I tell you why these things have gotten so good. The whole agentic mode is really, last year I outlined your LLM plus strategy, where you have tools, traditional tools along with LLM. And this is how it is working now. The agentic mode, this is not a one shot, you chat with it and generate code. That is not how it works. You actually deploy an agent and it is doing this tool calling. They call it agentic tool call. So what it means is you give it a requirement. In fact, you can develop the requirements with AI and then vet the requirements. You have a very good specification. That's all important. And then it is calling your own tools, create this file, do this, compile this, feedback. A lot of that feedback is coming from the tool itself. So when it compiles a file, it is now, you get an error message and it knows that this file did not compile or there's some error in these lines. It can go and correct it. So there's that feedback loop. So there are two things that have happened. One, the initial code it gives itself is better quality. They have trained the model better. And two, because of this feedback loop, they are actually adjusting, fine-tuning what they are doing. This is what they call the inference time. So the agent is giving feedback. Combined with the two, the quality is much, much better now, and they are able to, the code works. And another critical thing here, most important in software development perspective is, you first want to develop a full test harness, test suite, and very often you can use AI itself to do it. Keep it aside. Don't allow the agent to touch the testing, because often what they will do, if you allow it to also edit the test while developing the code, they can cheat on the test. Right? That can happen. So you don't want to let that happen. So you want to have a proper test suite developed first, specification, all of that. Don't allow it to touch those, because if you allow it to touch those, then it can actually comply with the test by modifying the test. Which kind of seems like what a college student might be tempted to do too, right? So these things know how to game this incentives. So that's why you have to have a proper loop established, where there's a fixed point where the specification is not touchable by you, at least in this loop. And you can have another AI or another session help develop the spec and the test suite. But in the core session, you want to be conforming to the spec, passing the test, but not modifying the test. So that's how the looping is working now. And what is the real productivity impact? We have deployed only a couple of on the client side. We have not deployed anything on the cloud side yet, but I'm sure that is coming. Though one of my engineers told me, as his application grew larger and larger, it was starting to struggle because the context windows, all of that was becoming a problem. So that is the early feedback. But he was going to split it up and do it part by part, which is pretty much how human teams will work too. So he has to develop it in sort of different parts. So that is the first I want to report, that the productivity gains are real and it's happening. So now the question is, what happens to future of software industry? That's I'm sure the whole SESA collapse that happened, all of that. And I'm going to give you a qualified the two-part thing, that assuming that code itself is a commodity, I think that would be a good assumption to make now, that code is now increasingly a commodity in many domains. Particularly, it might be true in SaaS domains. It may not be true, for example, if you're writing embedded code or assembly code or avionics code or very specialized domains like that, because there's not enough training data there for these LLMs to learn from. So we ourselves, for example, would not, even this compiler, the compiler generates JavaScript. For that, it is good. If you asked it to generate assembly, we're not sure that it would be as good. Okay, so it will struggle a little bit, because the amount of training data on assembly code may not be as much. So that's why I think you have to distinguish between these what domains it's trained well at versus what domains it's not trained well at. But SaaS is a domain it's reasonably well trained because of the lots of open source available. So that's why I think so you have to assume that that's the first one in our affecting our industry. The second on that is then the economics, right? And I'll give you my what is the side about the agent plus tools, traditional software tools that are invoked by the LLM plus agent, LLM plus the software tools. The LLMs are invoking the tools on this side. There's a lot more juice on that one. There's a lot more that can be done. In fact, we are doing some experiments right now where we can push this productivity even higher. And I actually believe a lot of the progress is going to come from this side, where you are going to improve all of this harness and deploy it with. In fact, there is a recent paper that argues that commodity AI open source models with a very good agentic harness can perform as well or outperform the leading models with a poorer harness. So much of the value addition is going to happen on the harness side, which we are actually working on. How to improve this, how to do, basically how to give it better feedback, how to make sure that the spec compliance is there, how to even have a structured specifications. So there's actually research going on structured specification kind of thing where the LLM cannot cheat. So these are some of the ideas that are floating around. So let me come to the bigger question, the existential question for SaaS and software business in general, all of it. This is a time of a maximum uncertainty in a way. We really cannot know exactly which way it goes. Okay. So I'm going to be upfront on this, that we cannot know truly. And if you look at the past, all of these productivity gains in any new technology that came around, it ended up creating more jobs in the end than it destroyed. The jobs transformed, but they did not go away, and many, the industry then had more jobs. And there is also what they call the Jivan's paradox. When software becomes very cheap, maybe a lot more of it will be consumed. A lot of businesses have unsolved problems. Now they can solve them. And that will involve, in other words, if they solve many, many more problems, still the employment may go up, so they solve 10 times more problems. Deploy more code. The employment may go up 20%. So you still got the productivity. You are solving more problems. So that means that 10x productivity or even 20x productivity, whatever that comes ahead. Today we are not at 10x. I'm anticipating a 10x. So let me be clear, right? We may be at 2-3x today, but I'm anticipating a 10x end to end. And you may still not lose jobs if you are, the employment intensity goes up a little bit. So we may get 20% more headcount for doing 10x more. That's a possibility. Okay. And then there is, of course, the doomsday scenario where all of that goes away. And one reason to take that seriously, I normally won't take it seriously, but there's one reason to take it seriously. This is the kind of what we are seeing in AI is the kind of intelligence that is capable of improving itself. You can make it generate code that improves its own code. And you can recursively improving, as they say. Are we completely there yet? But not there. But I think there is a lot of nowadays, the training is not involving real world data, but a lot of synthetic data. The synthetic data is coming from LLMs themselves, AI itself. So I think that is something that we have to also count on, that potentially a lot of the gains in all this is going to come from synthetic information. Particularly in all of the structured world, you can do a lot of synthetic data. Structured means software development. You can generate a lot of code according to certain patterns and teach those patterns to other AI. And so there is a self-improvement loop. And then it generates even more intricate patterns, teach those patterns like that. So these are, and why I mentioned the code again and again, that is It's kind of a superpower. Everything in the world, if software is eating the world, so everything in the world is mediated by code. So, you can control machinery, you can control cars, and you can control everything through code. So that is why I think the code generation is extremely important. And I personally am working on areas where we can push the productivity higher through this structured, on this side, the extreme structure. That is what we call the LLM plus static tooling, LLM plus compiler, LLM plus static verification, all of those approaches. Remember, the verifier is deterministic code that is running, that is verifying the output, giving feedback. So you are using the LLM only as a natural language to structure output, and then the structure is fully verified. So this gives you, complete verifiability and security. At the same time, you get the productivity of using natural language approaches, and the whole reasoning capabilities they are increasingly developing. And the reasoning is not perfect, but that's where the structure is there to give it feedback that, hey, your reasoning is flawed here. So you can think of it as there's one creative guy generating hypothesis, there's another very rigid guy who's testing it. I think that might be a way to couple these systems, the left brain, right brain, creative versus this thing. You want to generate a lot of hypotheses, but you also want to be able to test them. This loop is what is powerful, not just this side or that side. This loop, when you put together, that becomes powerful. So the way I try to navigate these times is that experiment a lot, experiment, and I am actually using these tools now heavily. And I have engineers with me every day who are using these, giving me feedback, all of that. Second, form hypothesis, discard them fast, even the same cycle, and form conviction slowly, but develop a conviction. Where is it going? For example, our strong conviction is this whole the left brain, right brain approach, where there is a creative side, there is a structured side, verification. That loop is important. You can call it a conviction. And we want to deploy that type of architecture for all of the problems. Okay, so that is the conviction that's forming. And we are working on this side. We are making rapid progress. And in fact, this year we may launch some real technologies around it. That's going to be our own proprietary technologies there. And these, so that is the conviction side. So you develop convictions over time from all of this hypothesis testing, all of that. Then we must ground our actions in that conviction. So this is what I advise our employees. As long as the economy is dominated by humans, and I think we can all assume that the economy will be dominated by humans, because there is also agents cannot vote. The AI agents cannot vote and will not vote, right? As long as we have anything to say about it. And that's why I call myself a humanist. And someday that may be quoted back to me as some kind of a racist, right? And so I am very much a humanist in this. And so as long as the economy, people are doing the buying and selling, people will be involved in the process. And that means that the jobs, even software jobs, in fact, this is something where Dario Amadai agreed. He actually also had the same point, which is that software engineers will evolve to working closely with customers, more like the forward deployed engineers. So you will solve very specific customer problems alongside with them. And where would be our value addition? So there'll be domain experienced people working. That is one. But also some of these structured tooling that is doing the verification back and forth. There could be value addition there. So we are seeking where is our value going to come from in the next 5 years, next 10 years. And we are trying to transform ourselves towards this. With all of these transformations, you have to be kind of a little bit open-ended exploration. You have to have optimism. You cannot give it to dogma. What is dogma? That is, you attach your own ego to certain preconceived viewpoints. If last year, if I told you, these tools don't yet work well, if I'm too attached to that viewpoint, I wouldn't be able to change my mind. But after the evidence changed, I changed my mind. So when the evidence emerged, I changed my mind on this. So now I'm accelerating our adoption in this. My group is working very hard now to get all of this into production. So that is when your action is backed by conviction, but not by ego, that's when you have the best results. So that's where we are today, and we are going to transform ourselves as a company around these. And it will also be not just of course, we have to also look at how expensive these models are right now, and luckily there's cheaper things coming. This is one tentative hypothesis I'll offer. Intelligence is going to be a commodity. It is not going to be controlled by one or two companies. That much is clear. And I tell you why. An intelligence that is widely available through API or whatever can also be distilled. In fact, last week, Sam Altman has gone to Congress and accused the Chinese of distilling. But that's a kind of a little bit of an irony, because they distill the entire world's knowledge into their LLM. And now they are accusing other people of distilling that. Right? So this type of distillation is going to happen all the time. And you cannot prevent it, because the moment you allow access to your tool, or I'll say it this way, if you allow access to a super intelligence, you can ask it the right questions and help you develop the super intelligence again, another form of intelligence. So that's the problem. And that means that it will remain a commodity. It will be widely available. It will become cheap. And so it's not, this is one tentative hypothesis I've got offering, that it itself is not going to confer any major competitive advantage. And by the way, the distillation is going on all the time now. Everybody is distilling each other. It's not like the big labs are not distilling each other. That means they are probing them to figure out how that works in the internals, and they're using that insight to build their own stuff. And this is going on in a loop. Everybody is distilling each other, so they are advancing that way. And then with the simulation, all of that, the synthetic data, you can ask your competition to develop a synthetic data that you can use to refine your own model. All of these capabilities, which is why I believe that there is no particular moat in intelligence itself. And then you can see if the economy is going to be human dominated in a way, humans are doing this, then human oriented jobs will dominate. That could be, for example, school teachers, nurses, people who are working with people will become very valuable. Your people skills are more valuable than raw technical skills alone. I think that is where it might be heading. This is what I tell our people, that definitely, your software engineer or whatever job you're in, get closer to the customer. I say our customer support may become valuable because we pick up the phone, real humans are talking to humans. We use AI to give them better solutions, faster solutions, more accurate solutions, whatever, but still there is a human talking to another human, not just purely AI talking to another human. That might be, in other words, people think of customer support as an area to save money. Well, I would say you save money in software development, but pour more into customer support in terms of being more empathetic with the customer. And use AI tools. The customer solution delivery person has the AI tools, all of them, to deliver precise solutions, but still there is a human involved. Those kind of jobs might get better paid in the future. So that's what we have to be open to this exploration, but we are in a truly new era. That's what I want to say, and I will be open for questions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Sridhar, thank you for that. Can you hear okay?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
So I really liked how you described your own discipline, but also challenging your own assumptions. What would you say to your customer base right now in terms of how they should be thinking about their own business, but also in the context of their Zoho relationship?
Yeah, good, really good. I would say today, a lot of the software has to be much more affordable. There's no reason to charge a huge per seat and this and that anymore. And Zoho is probably the most adapted to it, as you all know. So we are going to offer even more, incredibly more value. That is one. So expect more value from your vendors, including Zoho. That's what first I would say. Second, in their own business, I would urge them to have at least one person experimenting with these tools and see how it works. Be open-minded. Don't assume that it is going to help or it's not going to help. Their specific domain may not have had sufficient training for it to help them, but they must find that out experimentally and have somebody who's doing this exploration. That's what I would advise. Like how we have been exploring all the time. See, I've had people all the time using these, giving me feedback. And I jumped on it once I saw some really good results. Then I jumped on it myself. So I think that is what I would advise customers to do as well.
This is Michael Krigsman from CXO Talk.
Yeah.
Sridhar, Zoho has grown significantly. You have more customers, you have more revenue, you have a very large organization. At the same time, as you've just described, the technology world, as well as cultural dimensions that arise from changes in technology, are shifting so dramatically.
Yeah.
What worries you? What aspect of this worries you the most?
Yeah. I really want, first, I'll tell you one thing. I've told our employees we'll absolutely not resort to layoffs unless like our ship is burning, everything is going down, which is not happening. We are doing well. So I said we will not do proactive layoffs to prepare all of that nonsense. We will not do it. Because I wanted to take that off the table from our employees. I said we will adapt, we'll reinvent, but we are not going to cut. We are going to offer the customers a lot more with what we have. So we are hiring very slowly. We are not hiring very many software engineers right now, but we are going to keep what we have because I don't want to put this kind of a, transfer all of this uncertainty to the employees. That's the first one. And the business is doing well, by the way. The business is still doing well. So I don't want to sound alarmist on all of this. And for all we know, we continue to do well. But I'm just highlighting that the ground is shifting on this. The whole software development arena, the ground is shifting. The second, we have made this, I said, tentative hypothesis that customer service, the customer getting closer to the customer is going to be vital. So we are investing more heavily in that. I'm also moving even software engineers to work closely with customers. We are experimenting with these faster solutions. Can we deploy these in a week, in a day, in hours? All of these types of things we are exploring right now. How software engineers, along with customer support people, can help customers deploy faster. So these are some of the things. And then I also, we have many of you have come visited my village. We are doubling down on our schooling, all of these, because I do believe more broadly, we will have, if we properly harvest AI productivity, we can spend more on school teachers, more on nurses, more on healthcare, more on the priorities that actually matter to us humans. So it's not all doom and gloom. Ultimately, productivity gains is what really create prosperity, properly distributed. And this distribution system in America is today broken. We create a very lopsided thing where most of the productivity gain accrue to only few people. This is where I mentioned this intelligence becoming a commodity might actually be important to make sure that the gains are reaching everyone, not just concentrated in a few. So that would be an important one where the productivity gains are not simply captured by a few people who own the technology, but are distributed more broadly across the economy. That's the few things I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, Sridhar. Okay, very important two-part question. Very important. First is the real question, which is, are your favorite snacks still peanuts? Does that still hold? Okay, good. Second question is, we've talked a lot about AI, we've talked a lot about ERP, we've talked a lot about technologies. You always tend to talk about the future. You always look into the future for that next technology. Yeah. What is that next hill you want to explore, investigate, experiment as the chief scientist, certainly at Zoho? Are we looking at quantum, Holger's favorite topic? Are we looking at, what are you looking at next?
Yeah. We actually have been investing heavily in deep tech hardware companies, including a quantum sensing company we have invested in. I don't have personal expertise in it, but we are learning, we are investing and learning from smaller companies. These are very early stage. There's like 10 people doing some experiments right now. So it's not like a big effort. We are also investing in sodium battery technology right now. Sodium ion. Sodium is a lot cheaper, of course. So, and in fact, I'll tell you something interesting. There's a very hot engineer from India who was courted by Tesla in Austin. So we grabbed her. So, so you can see how the talent pool is global now. No, wherever you are, everybody is, hungering for the same talent right now. So, and so that's why we are actually setting up a kind of a battery development R&D right now. So again, I'll come to these, right? Any of these, whether sensing problems, medical technology, drones, robotics, all of these, the physical world. So there is a broader bits to atoms. Even our own company might have a lot of the atoms part. We are making our own servers right now, okay? And we may make our own storage. We are investing in chip design. So there is a bits to atoms transition that may happen. So the cheap bits might add value to atoms that cannot get cheaper than physics, as I say. Physics dictates how cheap. Intelligence can get arbitrarily cheaper. Atoms cannot get arbitrarily cheaper. So you take atoms and add value through bits. That might be the way that might happen. That could be happening in through sensing and IoT stuff. So those are, I think, areas that we are looking at right now. But we are looking at it optimistically. See, I'm an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. Even if, right now it's not posing any challenge to the company in terms of revenue, any of it. Even if it poses challenges, I think we have time to figure out all of these and we will adapt ourselves. That's how I approach it.
Thank you, Sridhar. And thanks all the audience in the webinar who joined, and we will share the recording as well. So thank you for the questions as well. So I think good night, good day, Sridhar.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Actually, I have a flight to catch now. Another half an hour. So thank you. Thank you very much.